You're listening to Something Cheeky, a collection of podcasts where two sisters discuss TV, books, and movies with just enough irreverence and far too many pop culture references. Welcome to Something Cheeky, the Gentleman Bastards edition, where we discuss the Lies of Locke Lamora, book 1 of the series by Scott Lynch. I'm Nikki.
I'm Rosanna.
Well, I've read the entire series. Rosanna has only read up to what we're covering today, which is Chapter 11, At the Court of Capa Raza. In this chapter, a new Capa's in town, and so is a plague ship. Coincidence? All right, Rosanna, what was your reaction to this chapter?
I wanted to like this chapter more, but I was still in mourning.
Oh, yeah.
From the last chapter. So this chapter obviously had a lot of surprises in it.
Yes.
And it was really good to get all of this, like, tying up of things.
Satisfying?
Yeah, a little. But the whole time I was just still sad.
Yeah. Do you think the week in between, since we record every week, do you think that helped? Or do you think it just gave you more time to be sad about everything?
I think it gave me more time to sort of stew on it. Because usually when I'm reading a book, I will just keep going and I'll be, caught up in the action. But this one, it was a whole week of nothing else to think about.
Right.
So it just...
Listen to sad music and sit in the rain. And
yeah, I was pretty sad. And then, when I got to the interlude, I was just sad all over again. Because now...
Because we got to see them again.
Well, yes, now I'm assuming all or a lot of our interludes for the rest of the book are going to have those characters, which is nice that we'll have them again, but it's going to be very bittersweet.
Yeah, you thought it was hard seeing Father Chains again. Now, every bit you get of the twins, it's all you get.
So, yeah, I mean, this was a really good chapter. It had a lot of really good stuff in it, but I sort of had that lingering sadness.
Right. Well, and now the interludes so far have gone back significantly far back in time, and so we haven't seen Bug in any of them. Are you worried we're never going to see Bug again?
I wondered about that. I wonder how far back they're going to stay, because it seems like they've been pretty consistent in a timeline. All of the interludes have happened around the same time. It seems to be that way, within a couple of years. So... unless they jump way ahead, we're not going to get Bug.
Bug. So sweet. Mm-hmm. So brave. All right. What was your favorite quote this time?
So the quote I chose was by Jean, and I really loved Jean in this chapter. He didn't have a huge part, but I like that he was there to sort of shake Locke away from, this shock. So the quote is, "We live, and we may avenge them. The questions now are why and what next." And I picked this one because that's what we've been asking. Why? And what are you going to do about it? Yeah. So I like Jean a lot in this one. I think that he's somebody that Locke really needed exactly that at that moment. Yes, we're sad, but we've got things to do.
If this had been a soap opera, if Jean were in All My Children, he would have slapped Locke at that moment.
Probably. Pull yourself together, man!
In that same scene where Jean was telling him to snap out of it, he also said, "Perhaps not everything miserable that happens to us stems directly from one of your choices, brother." And it was nice to remind Locke that not only is this not necessarily all his fault, he's also not the center of the universe at all times.
That's true.
That's a reminder Locke needs regularly.
Yeah, that does seem to be true, too.
It's that ego. It's not as destructive as Ragnar's ego in Vikings, which seems to be growing and growing and growing.
Pretty soon.
But it is.
He's not even going to be able to...
It's a good, healthy ego.
Yeah, pretty soon he's not going to be able to fit in his Earl chair. His head's so stinking big.
His Earl chair?
Yeah, it's a thing.
Not a throne or something like that?
It's an Earl chair. It's kind of like a director's chair on the back. It's got his name on it.
Earl Ragnar. Much more comfortable, though. Which reminds me, I saw a picture on Twitter a month or so back of a throne in season 5. An Earl chair in season 5 of Vikings. Oh. And it is gorgeous. Of course, I can't tell you who's sitting in it, but it's very pretty.
Just by you saying that, it makes me start to think about Ragnar not continuing to be Earl. I just assumed he was still on the Earl chair.
Well, it is 4 seasons away from... 3.5 from where we are.
That's true. I'll probably forget by then.
It could be you passed 4 years in one episode. It could be 80 years later.
It could be 1922.
It's just an Earl chair in a museum. Yeah. Somebody's looking at.
And there's a bunch of flappers hanging around.
Let's get to the action of the Lies of Locke Lamora instead of Vikings. Locke and Jean have stolen a boat because they lost the last one. So foolish they were. They said that. And after Jean talks to Locke, Locke starts to come back to himself in a way. Just trying to figure out, putting brain power to the problem of why the Grey King has it out for them in the first place. And Locke is wondering, he says, perhaps we weren't the culmination of his scheme after all. Maybe they're not the focus of this plan. Were you surprised at that idea, or because it seemed like you were at the point where you thought that this was all about Locke?
Well, I thought it was mostly about Locke, but I thought the Grey King also had it in for Barsavi. And I still think that that's true, because I find it hard to believe that the Grey King would have gone to so much trouble to use Locke in the way he did if his goal was just to get back at Barsavi. He could have used anybody, and he didn't have to kill him. He didn't have to kill the person that pretended to be him.
Do you really think he could have used anybody?
Barsavi didn't know what he looked like. Why couldn't he?
Locke does have a singular talent.
Okay, so let's say Locke was the only one that could do it. Why did he kill him? Or, I mean, he didn't die, actually, but he thought he died. So why? He killed all the gentleman bastards. I mean, attempted to, but you know what I mean? In his mind,
right.
In his mind, he killed them all. So if the whole point was just to get at Barsavi, why kill everybody? Unless he sees them as competition, which is valid.
Or to tie up loose ends. Though you make a good point, though. He could have convinced Locke to do it by promising him a place in his future regime or something important.
I mean, he
instead of saying, do this as a threat.
Yeah.
Right. Or I guess he could have just hired an actual actor.
Yes. Or, I mean, he has...
Though I'm not sure...
He has the Falconer.
Any actor would have done that.
But he has the Falconer. Are you telling me that there's not some kind of magic that he could have used to make somebody look a certain way or everybody think a certain way? Or maybe just the Falconer could pretend to be a Grey King? I mean, he would trust him. He wouldn't be a loose end. Nobody knows what he looks like, I think. It just seems like... I just still feel like it was personal towards Locke. Now, I don't necessarily believe that getting at Locke was the whole plan. I mean, obviously it wasn't the whole plan because he went way farther and it was Barsavi that was his target. But I think that he used Locke because he has something going on with Locke also. So he was taking care of two issues, killing Locke, killing Barsavi, with the same plan.
Locke and Jean are wondering why the Grey King only sent one man to get him, even though he's got all this power. Why not just be sure and send, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people to make sure everything is finished? And, of course, they bring up the good point that maybe he didn't have enough men. Maybe he used everyone he could spare doing other things to get everything in line for the plan that night.
Which was what, though? Where did he have all these other people? What were they doing?
Well, he may not have had very many, because before that, all he could offer these people was either the promise of something that he might get. He, may be able to give someone a position when he's Capa, but... If you meet this guy who's just killing people, you don't necessarily think that they're going to be able to pull it off. So you're not going to say, oh, sure, I'll risk everything to do this. And anyone else he would have had to pay. But we don't know if he has money or not. He stole all of the gentleman bastards' money. So still, that's another promise of, sure, I'll give you money when this happens, but not right now.
Yeah, I feel like even for as many answers as we got in this chapter, I still have a lot of questions.
There are 5 more chapters. There's also an epilogue.
Oh, right.
I love epilogues. Locke is pretty sure that the Grey King wants all the right people to witness what happens. And that's why he made the whole scheme basically end with a party, the floating grave. Locke is going to go there in disguise with the one fake beard he scrounged off the floor from the mask box. And he still has gray hair because the solvent to remove the gray has gone in the fire. He also wants Jean to find them a place to stay while he looks, because Jean will stand out like a sore thumb if he goes to the floating grave.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Locke gets all set up and gets dropped off by his barge Uber at the floating grave. And so how do you feel now that you know that Raza is the Grey King? Since the last episode or last chapter, you were throwing out all sorts of names as to who it could be.
Yeah, and I can't even fake like I knew this. I didn't know this. I guess I was surprised that that's who it was. Partially because they're trying to tell me these people are siblings, but they have different last names. Or is Raza supposed to be his first name?
Oh, no. It's a made-up name. They said that Raza is Throne Therin for vengeance.
Well, just because it is doesn't mean that's not his name.
I don't think it's his name.
But is it Locke or Lamora? Lamora? Doesn't that mean something too?
Right. Lamora is Shadow.
I'm just saying.
In Throne Therin.
Some people's last name is Black. That means something. It's a word and a name. Anyway.
It's a lot easier to fake your name when there aren't serious records like there are now, I would think. You just tell anybody what your name is, and that's your name.
That's true. So I was surprised that it was the Grey King. I was surprised that Grey King equals Capa Raza. But as the story continued, it sort of seemed like that was inevitable. I mean, this chapter was just spelling it out for us. You know what I mean? So it's disappointing to me that his big plan was just to be the boss.
What were you hoping it was?
Oh, something more. Something.
It's not what you wanted.
Something intellectual.
So it sounds like you wanted him to be more of an intellectual equal to Locke.
Yes.
He wasn't your Moriarty Sherlock combination.
Exactly. I wanted a foil for Locke.
Right.
It didn't have to be somebody that was good. Being evil is fine, but I wanted them to be level, equal. And so...
Not the cab driver in Sherlock?
Oh my gosh, no, not the cab driver. But what I'm getting from Raza is I want power and revenge. It's just so medieval. I don't know. And maybe...
As Sherlock would say, boring.
Yes, exactly. And maybe we'll get more from him. Maybe now that we know who he is, and also that he's more in the public eye as an actual person and not a rumor. Maybe there will be more that comes out, and I'll like it better. But
it also sounds like you want more than a double cross. You want like a triple or quadruple cross.
I'm always down for a triple, quadruple cross. No, I don't know. I like twists and turns. I like how they've been giving us that as the story has gone anyway. I expect more of that. Maybe that's what it is. It's not whether I want it or don't want it. I expect it.
So you sound pretty confident that this is the end of the Grey King or Raza's plan?
No, I don't think that.
Okay.
I think that this was the big deal. So let's get to this point. Yes. But I'm sure he's got other stuff planned. I doubt that he's like, okay, now I'm the Kappa. I'm just going to sit on my butt all day. People are going to bring me money. I don't think that's what his attitude is going to be. He doesn't seem like a thug.
Do you still think that he and Locke may be related? Or is that done now that you know
it's done now that Locke...
Yeah,
now that Locke said that's why he looked familiar, then that's why he looks familiar. I'm going to take Locke's word for it.
Don't take my word for it. What is that, Reading Rainbow?
LeVar Burton.
Oh my god, I love him.
You know, I've heard several times over the past couple of years that they're redoing that they're relaunching a Reading Rainbow show, but
he show up as the Star Trek character. What's the Star Trek character's name?
Was it
Geordi LaForge.
Yeah. But I haven't seen it actually be a show, so I'm not sure where that's going.
I loved it when we were kids. I don't remember anything about it except for the "Don't Take My Word for It" and then of course the song. But...
Okay, so he talks about a book, and then he says, but don't take my word for it, and then it shows a kid talking about the book and why they like the book.
Yeah, that does not ring a bell at all.
That's weird. Maybe because I was a little bit older than you, I retained more of it.
Maybe. So there's a massive party to celebrate Barsavi's victory over the Grey King. What a victory. He has no idea.
I kind of feel like that was a little naive on Barsavi's part, too.
Yeah. Though he had no reason to doubt that he had won.
Okay, but... So, some rumor, shadow person, is shown up, killing people.
Melisandre's shadow baby? It's killing him.
Killing baristas left and right. Barsavi gets all paranoid, turns into a hermit, stays home, doesn't let his kids go out. And then Nazca gets killed, so he's even more freaked out and sad and mad and all this kind of stuff. And then the Grey King, who should be somebody that he can't touch, he pretty much corners him, beats the absolute crap out of him, and puts him in a barrel. Doesn't that seem too easy after all of this?
And it's not just that, but the way he cornered him was because the Grey King talked to him about a meeting where he volunteered to only have himself.
Doesn't it? I mean, how could you not see that as a setup? It just seems really naive of Capa Barsavi. And then for him to think that he did away with him so quickly, not for it not to even occur to him that there's something else going on. Maybe not specifically, this isn't the Grey King, it's an imposter, but something to be suspicious of. No, he's like, nope, he's in a barrel, he's dead, I'm not even going to check, I'm sure he is. Let's have a party. Everybody get really drunk and don't pay attention to what's really happening. I almost feel like I'm not going to say he got what's coming to him. I almost feel like...
Well, you don't know what he did to the Grey King either.
That's a good point.
He may have gotten what's coming to him.
It's not like he was a nice person anyway.
That's true.
But it just seems like if you're somebody that got that far to this position of power, you've been a little smarter. Or is that just really easy for me to say because I'm reading it?
Hindsight is 2020.
It's true.
And then Carlo's going soft.
I guess.
Older years. I'm just thinking of the... I shall go to the west and diminish. Oh, from Lord of the Rings.
Oh. I never read Lord of the Rings.
It's in the movie, too. You saw the movies.
Nope. Okay,
What?
I've seen parts of the movies. I've never seen any of them getting to end.
All right, we're going to stop this right now so you can go watch the 20 hours of Tolkien movies there are.
I just couldn't get into it. Which I feel like I'm betraying fandom in general by saying that.
It's one of those things where pop culture is so saturated with it, you don't really need to see it to understand all the references.
That's fair.
Most of the references, except the one I just said. But
yeah, I didn't understand. I mean, I got the gist, but I didn't know that's what it was from.
Yeah. Locke manages to sneak in among some cutthroats. Everyone can have their weapons. Nobody's getting stopped and frisked. The door, which makes it worse later when the fighting breaks out.
Yeah, I mean, he was really just not thinking.
Just cavalier. Locke is still feeling horrible, but he's hoping for a few more hours of strength, which makes me wonder how long he thinks this is going to go on.
I can't believe he's still standing.
I know. And among all this, he still hasn't eaten anything. Like, you think maybe he would have grabbed a piece of fruit from the kitchen or something. Like, he hasn't eaten since he threw up everything he had in the past week.
Yeah.
Everyone's having a grand old time. Kappa calls everyone to order, and the Berangias sisters want to entertain the crowd with a teeth show. And that's when we find out the floating grave has a mini teeth show set up. They just open the floor up.
That doesn't really surprise me, though. It seems like their kind of deal.
It's such a supervillain's lair kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just waiting for sharks with lasers to come
Yeah,
out.
I can definitely sort of picture it. It sort of reminds me of different parts of Pirates of the Caribbean when they're on the ship, but they're below deck. Because it's so dark and grimy and there's all kinds of torture devices. I don't...
Which Pirates of the Caribbean is this?
Okay. Maybe when I say torture devices, I mean cells. There were some with cells, right?
A form of torture, I guess.
But you know what I mean? That sort of dark, like, just where everything on the outside seems like the same color, you know, around the outside of the picture. Yeah. That's kind of what I imagined.
Someone puts this alchemical mix in the water to drive a shark into this frenzy, kind of like, I guess, fish PCP or something. And the shark appears, it's going all crazy. The twins turn on Barsavi. Were you shocked?
When one of them said, "We dedicate this death," what'd she say?
"We dedicate this death," she continued, "to Capa Vencarlo Barsavi, our lord and patron. Well does he deserve it," said the other.
So when I read that, I thought she meant they were going to kill him. They were going to turn around and kill him. And then I realized, oh, she means the death of the shark. But then I was sort of suspicious.
It was only a paragraph later that you found out.
I wasn't completely surprised when that's what had happened, because when she said that, I thought, that's kind of a weird way to say that. Or I don't know if it was a weird way to say it, or if it was just the way that I took it. I was like, she's just going to announce it? She's going to kill him right now? Oh, it was the shark. So.
And then the shark comes up on this big spout of water. All I could see was the abyss. The water coming out with a shark on the end.
Yeah, why did that happen? Was it the falconer that brought the water up?
I'm guessing.
It could have been just the shark moving around, right?
No, I think the falconer did it to get to...
Did they even say later that the falconer could control animals, or he had control over animals? Okay, right. So that, yeah.
He seemed to have quite an affinity.
Yes, an affinity.
Animals. I'm not sure they use that word, but I like it.
I like that word, too. I don't use it enough.
Do you have an affinity for the word affinity?
Apparently not.
So this is now 3 different types of animals the falconer has shown he's able to control. So far, they're only predators. I wonder if he can do any kind of animal. Is he controlling cows every once in a while when he feels like it? Or what?
Nikki, why? Why would he ever need to control a cow?
You never know when you need to start a stampede or, like, block a car in the road.
No, Nikki, no.
Sorry, a cart.
No.
A buggy. All right, fine. Only the tough animals.
So, I would not be surprised if he can just do that for any animal. It's just animals in general, maybe.
I wonder how that works, if he only has to be near an animal to do that. Because he made the Salt Devils do what he wanted. So is it some weird sort of, like, pre-programming?
Do you mean a spell?
What is he doing? Yes, fine. There's a word for it. I mean, does he have to be, I guess, present in their minds? Or can he just kind of explain in whatever animal language understanding to them, wait for these guys and attack them when they come?
If I had to guess, which I have no choice, I have to guess. If I had to guess, I would say that he probably can do both. Probably he can inhabit an animal somehow or see through their eyes. But he probably also has the ability to cast some sort of a spell to make them behave how he wants them to. I just don't know if there's anything this guy can't do, because he's shown a lot of power, a lot of ability.
It's quite formidable. We meet Capa Barsavi just long enough to watch him die.
That was really gross.
Basically, one sentence is, "Here's the brother, and now he's dead." And then Angias gets killed as well. And Barsavi loses an arm, which sounds very unpleasant. Just blood spurting, it gets pulled off of him.
It's really gross.
It really is. It seems so vulgar after everything is so elegant all the time.
Yes,
but the Red Hands gang attacks, but all of them lose to the twins super quickly. And then basically a riot starts. Everybody is killing each other. It's like this massive bar fight. And Locke is just trying to stay out of the way. And then Ventress shows up. And Falconer speaks to the room. I wasn't sure. He wasn't there yet, but he kind of spoke. It's the, like a weird loudspeaker effect kind of thing. And everyone calms.
Like, when a wizard puts his wand to his throat and he talks and it's loud.
Any wizard, not a specific
wizard. Okay, so specifically, if you want to go there, at the World Quidditch Cup.
Yes.
What was the name of the guy that was headed?
Oh, I do not remember.
I'll think of it.
I can only picture the Hunger Games guy.
No, this was the guy that used to be a Quidditch player, and he was always wearing his uniform, but it was a little bit too tight. He was wearing his uniform during the...
I'm never going to remember that name.
It's
not Victor Crumb.
Stop it! It's, it's gone. I don't know.
I was going to trick you by just naming fictional sports heroes and then realized all I could think of is Victor Crumb.
And you don't even know any.
I can hardly name any real sports people. Sports people. Athletes. There's a word for that. It's not sports people.
God, sports people. Yay, sports! Throw the thing at the thing!
Everybody listening right now is like, now we know exactly what Nikki's weakness is.
Sports trivia.
Sports trivia. I know nothing. It doesn't matter.
It's gonna bother me now. And
now that
I said that, I don't even know if he's the one that did that. Let's just move on.
I always imagine it's something McGonagall would do.
Well, I'm pretty sure Dumbledore did it at least once.
Dumbledore.
He puts it... Do you remember at some point he puts his wand to his throat and he says, "Silence!" No?
I don't, but I'm sure
I sound just like him, huh? I do a great Dumbledore impression.
You really do. I thought you were just playing a recording of him.
I know. I'm good at it.
Yeah. Okay, where were we?
The sisters are tearing it up and they're killing the gangs.
The Grey King appears and stands next to the twins, and now it is very obvious he's their brother, maybe even a triplet. When you read that, were you like, oh, okay? Or were you just like, whatever?
I was kind of indifferent, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's interesting that they might be triplets. That's kind of cool.
Were you sad that he wasn't Locke's father or something?
Well, no. Not at this point, because he tried to kill him. And he killed all his friends, and he's obviously a terrible person, and I wouldn't want him to be his father.
Yes.
So I guess this reveal was interesting, but didn't give me anything to really have an emotion about yet. I think it will. I'm hoping that we're going to get more information about these 3 siblings. But right now we don't really know any of them very well. And what we know is not good.
Yeah, I really wish that we had more background on the sisters. We haven't actually learned that much about the Grey King, but we've seen him in a lot more interactions. But it seems like whenever we've seen the sisters up until now, we haven't gotten any of their personality. It's just been they were there and we know they're formidable, but we don't actually see them do anything. They just kind of appear and they look very strong.
Kind of like accessories.
Yeah.
They don't really talk. They just have no personalities right now. Except, I would say, though, that if they're willing to just completely slaughter, like, tons of people, they must, I feel like it's not just loyalty to their brother. I feel like maybe whatever his issue with Barsavi is, they're personally, like, individually connected to it also.
They're all invested and all affected by whatever it was that Barsavi did.
Affected, definitely.
Of all the things that Lynch does so well, he does not do twins very well. We've had 2 sets of twins now, and they're both sets are basically indistinguishable.
Even Locke said he couldn't tell which was which.
Right. And we get a lot of that with the Sansa twins, too. I really do wish that he could have given them some differentiating features.
At the very least, give them a scar. Or something. Or, like, one of them has a lisp. I don't know. Just...
Or an interest. One of them can be better at something than the other one.
For the Sansas, for sure. But for these twins, they don't ever talk. So it wouldn't matter if they have separate interests. They might already. One of them might like to knit, and the other one likes to bake. I don't know. Or she collects thimbles.
These are very feminine, stereotypically.
I like the idea of big, strong warrior women also doing feminine things.
Making a shark fin cozy.
Yeah. I mean, just because you're a big, strong warrior woman who's also a bodyguard doesn't mean you have to spend all your free time sharpening your knives.
That's
true. She likes to read poetry. Maybe she and Jean would get along well if they weren't on opposing sides.
Oh, I doubt you've ever seen it, but there's a Futurama episode that's quite famous where they go to a planet full of basically Amazonian women, and the men all get captured and chained up and sentenced to death by snoo snoo. Snoo snoo is sex.
Okay.
And there's a gif where it's 3 of the guys chained up to a wall, and their faces keep alternating between just so much excitement and just abject horror, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth as they decide they're going to be killed by sex. It's
That sounds horrible.
I don't... just crushed. But I'm imagining the Berangias twins as death by a snoo snoo. To all the guys in the room. Alright. That was super nerdy. The Grey King takes over, and the crowd is under control. The Falconer is weaving these spells, moving his hands around and muttering to himself. And since you cast the Falconer as Tom Hiddleston, I was just picturing Tom Hiddleston muttering to himself in front of all these people. Very, very Loki-like.
Very Loki-like.
It was great. That's all I see now when I think of it.
He would be perfect.
He would be really good. And that's when we find out that Raza means vengeance in Throne Therin. I wonder what made him think of that. Is everyone taking pseudonyms that are Throne Therin names for something else?
That is weird. Maybe the language just has a nice sound, like some do.
Maybe. If you had to choose a name that meant something specific in another language, what would it be? Or what would the translation be?
To describe me? Or to pick my own name?
It was super literal and apparently not subtle at all, according to Locke.
I'd probably go with something like Moody? Yeah. Yeah, I'd go with Moody. How about you?
Oh my god. All I can think of is Reader, which is pretty
That's
boring.
pretty literal, though.
It really is.
That's okay. You know what? There are worse things to be known by.
Now I want to think of one for you. What would I put for you?
If I named you in a different language, I would pick a word that meant delightfully quirky.
Aww.
I like that.
That's so nice.
That just seems like it suits you.
I'm trying to think of the best way to say this, but commonsensical I would pick for you.
Is this a Dr. Seuss character?
Oh my god.
I'm not mad at that. I take a lot of pride in my commonsensicalness.
I always think it was nonsensical and common sense, and together I got commonsensical.
I like it.
It's better than non-commonsensical.
Oh, definitely. And I've met people like that. I've met people that should be named that.
Non-commonsensical.
Yes.
Oh my god. Oh, we find out that Raza had Barsavi's wife killed with black alchemy. It wasn't some sort of stomach cancer.
Yeah, that actually really irritated me.
Yeah, it was kind of a taster kill, like an appetizer for this revenge plot.
Yeah. And this has been going on for a while.
Yeah, because we don't know how long ago she was killed, but it sounded like a while ago.
And the sisters went to work for him because of this plan, so as long as they've been there also longer than that.
That's true. I would be pissed if I were the sisters and had to just bow down to this guy for so long.
Yeah.
So my brother could get in with him. Of course, I mean, it does seem like it affected them as well. But to have to live every day serving someone that you hate.
Not even just serving him, protecting him, fighting for him, killing for him, to somebody that they hate so much, they slaughtered his whole family and him.
It's quite an undercover job.
It's a long con.
Really unpleasant long con.
I'm sad that they were the ones that killed the mother. I don't know if they deserved it or not. I'd find out. I mean, I don't know. Does anybody deserve to be killed by poison? But I think that she was killed because she was married to him, and they're trying to get at him, and so she had to die for it.
They wiped out his whole line.
Yeah.
And Barsavi asked why. Capa Raza knelt beside him, cradled his head almost tenderly, and whispered in his ear for several long moments. Barsavi stared up at him when he was finished, jaw slack, eyes wide with disbelief, and Raza nodded slowly. What do you think it was?
You're talking about this level of revenge. I feel like it has to be a death. Of somebody close to them, maybe a parent, since all three of them are in on it.
It's true.
Murdering one or both of their parents. Well, I mean, that's what Batman did. He turned his whole life into revenge because somebody killed his parents. So, it could be. That's my best guess right now. That
maybe they're quadruplets.
Maybe they're quintuplets.
Maybe
they're sextuplets.
Octuplets. And he killed more than half of them.
I bet that's what.
Did you know Octomom was in this book?
Gosh, that's a terrible song. Anyway, my best guess is that he killed their parents. I've got nothing else. Or, I don't know, like, burned down their entire village, dropped a bomb on it. I don't know. But it has to be death. It has to be related to a death.
It does seem that way.
Because the most passionate revenge is for love. It's for the love of someone, I believe. And, love of a child and their parents. It's a big one. It starts very young. Almost their whole lives, I would say.
So profound.
Thank you. That's my commonsensical turning up.
The Grey King is giving his speech, and it's like the worst pep rally ever. I was just imagining Torrance would be ashamed of this. It's Torrance.
Yes, she would be.
It's bad. He's really excited. No one else is very happy about what's going on at the moment.
I don't know why, but at this point he seemed like really nerdy to me.
Oh.
Like, thank you all for coming. Now I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. You all like me. Haha, I'm the boss now. I don't know.
Are you trying to do an Urkel voice?
No! No! Gosh, no. That was just my nerd voice.
That was so Revenge of the Nerds. Like, just pinching your nose.
I wasn't even pinching my nose. I can make that sound without touching my face. I don't know. He just seemed really, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that.
Like nerdy, gloaty?
Yeah, gloaty. It just, I guess maybe...
Is gloaty a word?
I guess it sort of seems like this is undeserved, so I'm just not really on board for him.
Yeah. He says all is going to be the same under him, and everyone has to call him Capa Raza. No one can call the Grey King anymore. People will still hold the same territories, tributes paid, secret peace will be upheld. I thought that was an interesting point I hadn't considered before. The fact that he calls out that they're going to continue to uphold the secret peace made me think, what happens if someone just took over and decided they weren't going to uphold the secret peace? Just try to take over the city completely and run it Gotham style? I don't know.
Well, I don't know how possible that would... I wonder if they would lose too many to make it worth it, and probably lose in the end way.
That's logical.
Thank you.
Oh, and Raza even brings Aemon, who is the first person who had attacked Locke,
right,
up to the front and says he's gonna let him die in style and comfort. He confirms it wasn't Capa Raza or the Grey King at the Echo Hole. Oh no, Aemon. Raza laughed, a deep and pleasant sound. No, that was but an illusion. In the far corner of the floating grave's volume, that particular illusion fumed silently to himself, clenching and unclenching his fists.
Yes.
Locke has just got to be so angry.
Just boiling.
At this point.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's just nothing he can do about it at all.
And on top of him being mad at being dragged into this entire situation and losing boys, he was used for this.
Right.
He was just completely used for this. I'd be jaded too.
And as a lot of the Garistas start pledging loyalty, Locke realizes that they must have had a deal with Capa Raza as well before this all happened, because they were the secondary person and took over when the Grey King killed all the Garistas.
Yes, they were the vice chairs.
It made me wonder for a second if it went through Locke's head for a moment. What if I went up there as a Garista and pledged my loyalty? I wonder what the Grey King would have done, if he would have just been like, bygones, or if he would have just killed him outright, because that would have made him look very bad in front of everyone, because people didn't know about Locke having been the Grey King at the Echo Hole.
Do you register? Or are you saying he'd go up and say he was Locke to pledge his loyalty?
Oh yeah, as himself. I just thought that was like alternate reality, another path that could have, or alternate timeline kind of thing.
So the Grey King is going on the assumption that Locke is dead.
Right.
So, for one thing, it would be a bad idea for Locke to tell him different.
Right.
That's good for Locke that he's dead. And another thing, if Locke did decide to go up there, I don't think he'd last very long. There are a ton of people that would just kill him.
I just wonder if he considered it for a second, because he can be reckless sometimes.
Yes, that's true.
And he just wants to, sometimes he'll make a choice just so he can have the upper hand for a second.
Well, and I wonder if he wasn't in such a poor state, he might have been thinking differently, but I think he was just so tired, so overwhelmed, so sick that, I think it was really important for him to be there, to see what happened, to see the results of all of this.
Right.
But I don't think he was in any kind of shape to take any sort of action whatsoever.
Yeah. God, what would Jean do if Locke was killed?
I think the Wicked Sisters would time for a while.
Probably.
I kind of think they're going to be anyway.
Raza gives all the undecided people 3 days to either join him or leave Camorr, which is pretty hard line. And Locke thinks he meets eyes with the Falconer, but the Falconer doesn't react. Do you think he actually saw him? And if he did, why didn't he say anything? Or do you think it was just one of those things where you think you see someone across the room and they don't really notice you?
I do not believe that the Falconer didn't know Locke was there.
Oh, why is that?
Because he can talk in his head. I feel like he has a connection. I can't believe that the Falconer didn't know that Locke was there.
So based on that, why do you think he didn't react?
He made it clear earlier that he was doing a job for the Grey King.
Right.
So maybe he didn't want Locke to be dead, and if he's the only one that knows he's not. Maybe he didn't want Locke to be dead. Maybe he just didn't care. Either way. And that was just going to start more trouble that he wasn't to get into.
He's already taken everything from him.
Yes.
Or maybe the Falconer and Locke are like long lost brothers and he doesn't want to hurt him. Not really.
I don't think so either.
More twins. Indistinguishable twins.
Honestly, though, there better not be more twins. I can only take a certain amount of twins per book unless it's a book about twins.
The Sweet Valley High twins.
There weren't any other twins, though, in that story. Like a book that was written about twins as two people being born together. Like, more than one set of twins.
Because I was like, you just
oh my God.
defined twins.
Okay. Unless it's a non-fiction book about twins as a phenomenon. Does that clear it up at all?
Mostly, yeah.
Okay. It's late. I'm tired.
I don't want to read anything about sisters unless it's about two women
who
are related and have the same parents.
Oh my God, shut up.
You were not living that one down.
Also, by the way, I don't even know why I said that, because I really don't read much nonfiction. So I probably wouldn't even read a book about twins. As a phenomenon.
Oh my God. So Locke leaves and goes to Ashfall. He is not doing very well at all. Mistaken for a gazer. And he collapses, calling Jean. You just want Jean to be there, but he's not there right now. And then it cuts to the harbor where a ship with yellow lights is heading into the old harbor, all sloppily sailing. And we find out it is a plague ship. There's an outbreak without the monkey. This seemed like quite a departure from the rest of the chapter.
Yeah, what the even heck? I don't care about this stupid ship. All I care about is Locke passed out in a gutter calling for Jean. I don't care about this ship. Yeah. Why are you telling me about this ship right now, Scott Lynch? I don't care about this ship. Also, I thought it was really weird that the ship was named Satisfaction. And this whole book is about revenge. I have no way to connect those. I just thought it was interesting.
Well, I can't get no satisfaction, so...
Sounds like a personal problem. That's such a 90s phrase. That sounds like a personal problem.
They're ringing the bells. The lights are flashing to send a message to Raven's Reach to be sent throughout the towers. It's light the beacon fire. Pippin, Condor calls for aid. Kind of. Also, a reference you probably won't know because you didn't see the movie Lord of the Rings movies.
The only reason I did know what you're talking about is because Did you say Pippin?
Yes, I did.
That's one of the characters, right?
Peregrine Took. Fool of a Took. It is.
I sort of got that reference.
Billy Boyd played Pippin, and he was fantastic and amazing. And he sang a song that's in one of them that I think I mentioned in a previous episode. Actually, no, it was a Vikings one I talked about. But it's just this beautiful, haunting song. But his counterpart, you do know, because he's Charlie from Lost.
Oh, right.
Dominic? Dominic I want to say Montague. It's not Montague.
Anyway, here's Wonderwall. one of the episodes of Lost, he's playing Wonderwall. I know. Just like in the city with a guitar.
Dominic Monaghan.
Oh, Monaghan, of course.
Yeah.
Not
he's
Penny's
the other
boat.
hobbit. Oh,
I really liked that show.
They've got trebuchets, or kind of catapults. It's a type of catapult for loads of rock or fire oil, just to burn the plague ships down or stop them and sink them. They seem to mobilize awfully quickly. They must do, I guess, plague ship drills or something.
Exercises.
Yeah. Turns out to be a really pretty black ship, probably from Emberlane, and it turns out it is from Emberlane. And they row out there with probably some of their rowers from the Palace of Patience. Or maybe the slaves. And the ship's crew is begging for a doctor or an alchemist. 20 people are already dead, including the captain and their doctor. But they have to just sit and wait in the harbor, or they'll be killed if they try to come in. What is your thought as to why Lynch put this in here? It seems like a non sequitur.
I have no idea. I have no idea what the ship has to do with anything else. I don't blame this town for setting up this protocol, because when you're talking about a plague, and this is back in a time when people didn't wash their hands, or any really, it makes sense to tell them, no, you stay out there, don't throw the bodies over, don't try to come in, because if you're talking about setting that loose in a town, we've seen already what happens when plague shows up. Tons of people die, children are left orphans, they have to burn down a whole part of the city. It's,
Yeah. Locke started a riot with some makeup making him look like he had the plague.
So I can understand the reaction that the town had. That makes sense to me. I have no idea what this has to do with the Grey King or Locke or whatever. I don't know. I can't connect it. I just can't.
Well, the next episode, we're going to talk about the interlude, Lady of the Long Silence. All right, Rosanna, what's your top 3 this episode?
These are the top 3 moments when I said, wait, what? Okay, number 1, the twins plus the Grey King triplets? What? That really came out of nowhere for me, actually. I never would have put those 3 together. I would have put 2 of them together because they have the same face, but not this last one. Number 2 is when we find out that the twins not only kill Barsavi's sons, Angeus and Chero.
Yes.
But they actually are the ones that killed Mrs. Capa Barsavi, however many years ago she died.
Yeah.
And then the third one is that the Falconer didn't know, supposedly, that Locke was in the room.
Ah.
Which I don't think that's accurate. I think he did know. But the chapter, the writing made it seem like he didn't. And I think Locke thought he didn't. But that doesn't make sense to me.
Do you think that's going to come back to haunt us? Or do you think it was just a little side piece?
I believe that we will revisit that assumption.
Okay. What do you think is going to happen with that if you think something's going to happen?
I don't know what he could use it for. I feel like it's going to come up. I hope that the Falconer and Locke are going to have additional conversation. That the Falconer will say, I knew you were in the room at the floating grave and I didn't kill you. So, blah, blah, fill in the blank. You can trust me or you owe me.
It sounds like you might want them to kind of partner up or something. The you can trust me comment.
Well, not necessarily partner up, but come to some sort of agreement. If the Falconer decides he needs something from Locke, they're going to make some sort of pact or, I guess, agreement.
Truce. Okay. Now it's time for Cheek of the Week, where we talk about something that we really like and want to share with each other and with you. My cheek is a website called American Science and Surplus. You can go to sciplus.com, SCI+.com. They have just a crazy number of amazingly cool items. It's really bad for impulse shopping. When I go, I get their email and I'm like, I want 40 of these items. They have a huge range of things. They have, as you'd expect, science type items. You can buy all sorts of science accoutrement like beakers and all kinds of containers and glassware and lots of different things. They have science type toys for kids. They've got, I think at one point I saw a little desk trebuchet you can buy and you can assemble it to have this little trebuchet to throw things on your desk, which actually sounds like something our dad would love. Maybe we'll get one of those one day. They also have tons of surplus stuff. They have military bags and surplus like restaurant like equipment. They also have a really strange assortment of just different kinds of toys. I have bought so much stuff from this website over the years. I'm looking at my order history and holy crap, I have an 8-inch diameter disco ball I bought. A ton of different kinds of flashlights that I got as stocking stuffers for my husband one year because he likes LEDs and he needed some lights for the garage. So I got all these different kinds of lights. I got these stick-on fuzzy velvety alphanumeric stickers that I gave to Rosanna's kids one year to label things with all these names. And some breakable geodes and a little metal pirate ship you can assemble. But my favorite things that I've gotten from American Science and Surplus are two things: a pottery tool set and a dental tool set, which seems really weird until I tell you what I use them for. I carve crazy pumpkins every year, like super detailed, really fun designs, kind of like double layered. Sometimes the skin is still there and peeled off, and if it's not, I do all sorts of things and make crazy designs. And I use dental tools and pottery tools to do a lot of the detail on them. I have this box with a wood burner, both of which I got from American Science and Surplus. And I keep all my special Halloween tools in because I'm serious about this. And it is really fun. But they have just a crazy number of things. Lots and lots of different stuff. And we have a code that you can use if you want to get 10% off of your purchase there. If you just go to SciPlus, SCIPLUS.com, you can use the offer code CHEEKY to get 10% off a purchase. And you should go there now and buy out everything because they have a ton of awesome stuff. So Rosanna, what's your cheek this week?
My cheek this week is a TV show, though I feel like that is an understatement for the title being a TV show. This is like an epic 8-person movie spread over several episodes. Netflix original series. It's called Sense8. I just marathoned the second season that came out a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, usually I get to watch an entire season of anything in one weekend, but I actually had to spread this out over several days. So
does that mean you're done with your 20,000 series Law and Order marathon?
It was Criminal Minds, not Law and Order.
Oh, that's right.
And I am caught up to what is on Netflix. However, the current season isn't on Netflix yet. It's still airing. So I'm caught up with as much as I can be caught up.
But Sense8 is an actual Netflix-produced show.
Yes. So Sense8 is a show about 8 people that are from all different parts of the world. And one day, completely inexplicably, they all become linked through their brains. They can sort of go into each other's bodies with their minds and be in the places that the rest of them are in, and they can sort of borrow each other's skills, which is really super cool. And it's not at all like a superhero or mutant kind of movie, even though that's what it sounds like the way I'm describing it. It's just people that are living that, for whatever reason, are all connected mentally, and they call them sensates or homo
sensum. They didn't start using that term till the second season. Sensorium. Homo sensorium.
Okay, that's it. So the characters, a couple are from the United States, one is from Korea, one is from Mexico, one is from Germany. Is Wolfgang German? Okay.
Right.
One is from Africa, and one is from India. And one is from, where's Riley from? Iceland. Oh! And the character from Iceland, when she's at home, has the most beautiful scenery.
Yeah,
they film this show from all of these places. They go to all these locations, and the show is beautifully made. The acting is very, very good. The story is very engaging. It's just a really, really good show. I know a lot of people have seen it, but if you haven't seen it, I highly, highly recommend it. Now, don't watch it with your children because there is a ton of bad language and a lot of nudity and a lot of violence. And I know right now I just hooked a couple of you, didn't I? Some of you were like, what? Bad language? Violence? Sex? I'm in.
An orgy? Why not?
Yes, there was. I forgot about that part. Yeah, it's a...
How could you forget? It was amazing.
And I gotta say, Wolfgang, who's from Germany, and Riley, who's from Iceland, are my 2 out of the 8. They're my 2 favorites.
Really?
Yes.
I don't care about Riley.
Oh, I love Riley.
No. I love Wolfgang. He is definitely my top in Leto.
Oh. Okay, I really like Leto too. I mean,
the sun is growing on me in the second season.
Sun is amazing. I really like all of them.
I do. Yes, I like every single one of them.
And I love, it's so cool because once they realize what's happening and the consciousness can be in the other person's body, the way they film it, it looks like they're just standing there talking to each other, even though really there's only one of them there. But they're so sweet to each other. They're so helpful. They give whatever they can. They're all really connected, even though they don't know why. And it's just a really great story when they talk about learning to deal with this, because it's very distracting to have 7 people talking in your head.
Yeah, it's really great too. It breaks down a lot of stereotypes.
It really does.
For not just gender stereotypes, but cultural and country stereotypes as well.
Yes.
Which I like.
It's a really, really great show.
It is. I think the writing is fantastic.
Yes. I think anybody that hasn't seen it should just start watching it and you'll get hooked. You might need to take a day off to finish it. Because once you start, you're not going to want to stop. It's just amazing. Just, that's it. I mean, it's just amazing.
Now I want to watch it again. I binged the second season also.
Oh,
I binged the first one too, of course, but yeah.
That show. So, listeners, you can visit our website to find all our Cheeks of the Week, learn about our other podcast, send us questions and feedback, and support the show through our Amazon affiliate link at somethingcheekypodcast.com/Amazon.
That's our episode. Please leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at somecheek and facebook.com/somecheek. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Digga da 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 da.